Hello, and welcome to Don Hammond's Arlington Weekly News. I'm Daniel Pineda. We have a great program this week. We have our news stories, community bulletin board, 55 plus news, and an interview with Arlington resident Alyssa Marlow. But first, a social media reminder. You can watch the Arlington Weekly News on our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Arlington Weekly News and the number 1. Also on Facebook and WERA 96.7 FM. And now on to our first news story for this week. Arlington County's COVID case site has reported the following data as of July 11th. The total case count on that day was 54,873. As for vaccinations, we examined Arlington County's vaccination tracker. As of July 13th, 201,301 Arlingtonians aged 5 and above have received at least one dose of the COVID vaccine. They show that figure as 88.8% of their estimated eligible population of 226,754 Arlingtonians. 25,453 Arlingtonians remain unvaccinated. Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine for 5 through 11-year-olds is still available at the following locations. Arlington Mill Community Center, that's located at 909 South Dinwiddie Street, and Walter Reed Community Center, that's located at 2909 16th Street South. Walk-ins for 5 through 11-year-olds are available Monday through Friday from 2 p.m. to 6:45 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday from 9 a.m. to 4:45 p.m. For more information, consult the Arlington County website. A man crashed his Subaru into a courthouse office building on the afternoon of Wednesday, July 13th. The crash happened at approximately 4 p.m. at the National Science Teaching Association building. The street address is 1840 Wilson Boulevard in the alley between Wilson and Clarendon Boulevards. The front of the Subaru went through a brick wall and into the building. However, no one inside the building was reported to be injured. The middle-aged male driver of the car appeared disoriented. He was pulled out of the driver's seat by firefighters. He was taken on a stretcher to a waiting ambulance and onto a local hospital. It is not yet known what caused the crash or whether the driver might have suffered a medical emergency. The fire department's technical rescue team remained on scene, shoring up the brick wall, which was damaged as a result of the crash.
We received the following from the Arlington County Government website. Arlington has been named one of 5 walk-friendly platinum communities in the U.S. this year, joining an exclusive group comprised of much larger New York City, Seattle, Portland, and San Francisco. This lofty status comes from the Walk-Friendly Communities Initiative of the University of North Carolina's Highway Safety Research Center, which previously set the county's wide-ranging efforts to boost walking at gold status for more than a decade. According to the WFC, the designation reflects Arlington's success, and we quote, in transit-oriented planning, remarkable promotion and outreach, and educational offerings for staff and residents, unquote. It's the first time the county has achieved platinum level status from WFC after receiving gold level ratings in 2010 and again in 2015. Being recognized with a platinum rating by walk-friendly communities highlights Arlington's ongoing commitment to increasing walkability throughout our neighborhoods, said Arlington County Board Chair Katie Crystal. She went on, we are committed through many infrastructure projects and county-wide initiatives to continue to make walking a viable, enjoyable, and safe way for both residents and visitors to get around Arlington. Arlington has 527 miles of sidewalks, more than 50 miles of paved multi-use trails, and 14.5 miles of hiking and natural trails. The county's acclaimed multimodal master transportation plans makes its pedestrian element a key feature in integrating growth around public transit lines, with special emphasis on sidewalks and multi-use trails. Among its transportation outreach services, the county's Walk Arlington program offers resources and events to encourage foot travel as a sustainable, healthy way to commute around and explore Arlington. One such effort is the more than 24 highly detailed walkabout map tours developed for discovering Arlington's mix of neighborhoods, as well as their unique features and histories. In addition, an all-volunteer pedestrian advisory committee helps county leadership and transportation planners visualize and achieve a more walkable Arlington through policy and infrastructure changes, from the busiest urban corridors to charming residential greenways. An examination of the continued challenges faced by pedestrians is among the key components of Vision Zero, the county's major transportation safety initiative to ensure that everyone traveling across Arlington arrives safely to their destination. In the first year of Vision Zero, almost 240 crosswalks were updated to display high visibility markings, while speed limit zones around 13 schools were reduced to 20 miles per hour to protect walkers. Such planning, promotion, and outreach align perfectly with the challenge of WFC to, quote, prioritize pedestrians and create safe, comfortable, and inviting places to walk. For more information about the Walk Friendly Communities Initiative, visit www.walkfriendly.org. This concludes the release from Arlington County's website. It's kind of a lot to make of just walking.
Hi, and welcome to CBB. Our first CBB event is called So Fetch. Prepare to get grooving with your favorite 2000s hits performed by So Fetch, DC's supreme 2000s tribute band. Remember your on-the-go playlist on your first-generation iPod? The #1 spot on TRL back when Carson was dating Tara Reid? So Fetch has them covered and more. From Avril to Outkast, from Blink to Beyonce, from Kanye to Keisha, to that song you liked from the OC. Break out your low-rise jeans, pause High School Musical, and take a break from Guitar Hero. Edward, Jacob, Paris, and Nicole are all coming. Your UGGs, popped collars, and trucker hats are welcome here, because So Fetch is happening. There will also be refreshments and food available during the event. Don't miss out on an evening of fun music that we know will have you dancing the night away. That's on Thursday, July 28th from 6 o'clock to 9:30 p.m. at Central Place Plaza, 1800 North Lynn Street. Next up, another entry from the Oceans of Possibilities Film Festival. Explore the depths of the ocean through cinematic storytelling. They will focus on films where the sea plays a leading role. This time it's The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. A little bit about the film. Internationally renowned oceanographer Steve Zissou and his crew, Team Zissou, set sail on an expedition to hunt down the mysterious, always elusive, possibly non-existent jaguar shark that supposedly killed Zissou's partner during the documentary filming of their latest adventure. On this journey, Steve's crew are joined by a young airline co-pilot who may or may not be Zissou's son, a beautiful journalist who has been assigned to write a profile of Zissou, and Eleanor, Zissou's estranged wife and co-producer. They face overwhelming complications, including pirates, kidnapping, and bankruptcy. Be sure to RSVP for an event reminder. For more information, you can contact Vicki McCaffrey at 703-228-0322, or just email her at vmccaffrey@arlingtonva.us. That's on Wednesday, July 27th from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock p.m. in the Eads Room at Aurora Hills Branch Library, 735 18th Street South. Our next event is also from the Arlington Public Library. It's the Thursday Morning with Friends Book Club. This group welcomes new members to join them in reading and discussing current literary fiction, historical fiction, and some nonfiction titles. They meet every fourth Thursday morning in person at Central Library. This month's selection is called Finding the Mother Tree, Discovering the Wisdom of the Forest by Suzanne Simard. Suzanne Simard is a pioneer on the frontier of plant communication and intelligence. She's been compared to Rachel Carson, hailed as a scientist who conveys complex technical ideas in a way that is dazzling and profound. Her work has influenced filmmaker, including The Tree of Souls in James Cameron's Avatar, and her TED Talks have been viewed by more than 10 million people worldwide. Now, in her first book, Simard brings us into her world, the intimate world of the trees, in which she brilliantly illuminates the fascinating and vital truths. The trees are not simply the source of timber or pulp, but are a complicated, interdependent circle of life. That forests are social, cooperative creatures connected through underground networks by which trees communicate their vitality and vulnerabilities with communal lives not that different from our own. This is a volunteer-led book club. For more information, you can email icauff@arlingtonva.us. For the current policies on masking, please see the Library Operations Update. That's on Thursday, July 28th from 10:30 a.m. to 12 o'clock noon at Central Library, 1015 North Quincy Street. Here's another Arlington Public Library event. It's called Save the Eggs, Egg Drop Challenge. This program is for kids in grades 3 to 5. They will design and build a device from upcycled materials that will keep a raw egg intact when dropped from various heights. All materials will be provided. No registration is required. Attendance is on a first-come, first-served basis until capacity is reached. For current policies on masking, please see the Library Operations Update. You can call 703-228-5946 for more information. That's on Thursday, July 28th from 3:30 to 4:15 p.m. in the Rabbit Hole at Central Library, 1015 North Quincy Street. Our final CBB event is the Book Whisperers Book Club. The Book Whisperers Book Club meets virtually every fourth Thursday of the month. They read a mixture of fiction and nonfiction. New members are always welcome. July's selection will be Hidden Valley Road, Inside the Mind of an American Family by Robert Kolker. This is a challenging story to read. Don and Mimi Galvin seemed to be living the American dream. After World War II, Don's work with the Air Force brought them to Colorado, where their 12 children perfectly spanned the baby boom, the oldest born in 1945, the youngest in 1965. In those years, there was an established script for a family like the Galvins. Aspiration, hard work, upward mobility, domestic harmony, and they worked hard to play their parts. But behind the scenes was a different story. Psychological breakdown, sudden shocking violence, hidden abuse. By the mid-1970s, 6 of the 10 Galvin boys, one after another, were diagnosed as schizophrenic. How could all this happen to one family? Registration is required. A Zoom link will be emailed to all registrants prior to the event. To pick up a reserved print copy for this July book club meeting, please visit the Westover Library. Books are available on a first-come, first-served basis. For more information, call 703-228-6327 or email aschulz@arlingtonva.us. That's on Thursday, July 28th from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock p.m. Now it's time for 55 Plus News.
Howdy, and welcome to 55 Plus News. Let's start off with something called Smart Home. We can use technology in our houses to control lights, lock doors, play music, and answer questions. Tech guru Nick England will present an overview of home automation devices such as Amazon Alexa and Google Home. This is a basic introduction and no prior experience is required. You can register online at the Parks and Recreation website. For more information, call 703-228-4747. The activity number is 914-403-05. That's on Wednesday, July 27th from 11 o'clock a.m. to 12 o'clock noon at Lubber Run Community Center, 300 North Park Drive. You gotta be 55 and up, and 55 plus membership is required. Next up, Dementia 101. Kay Young, Education and Outreach Manager for Insight Memory Care Center, will discuss basic information about dementia, including the latest progress in science and medicine. The talk will address some of the greatest challenges of caring for a loved one with dementia as their personality and behavior changes. You can register online at the Parks and Recreation website. The activity number is 914-500-08. That's on Wednesday, July 27th from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock p.m. at Arlington Mill Community Center, 909 South Dinwiddie Street. You gotta be 55 and up, and 55 plus membership is required. Next up, a social dance party. Join 55 plus friends for a casual Friday afternoon dance party. The peppy music, lively atmosphere, and fun company will help you feel confident, happy, and fit. You can register online at the Parks and Recreation website. The activity number is 914-890-01, and that's on Friday, July 29th from 2 o'clock to 3:30 p.m. at Lubber Run Community Center, 300 North Park Drive. You gotta be 55 and up, and 55 plus membership is required. Our next 55 plus event is called Natural Solutions Through Essential Oils. In today's world, we are bombarded by toxins like stress, pollution, cleaning products, pesticides, and more. doTERRA representatives Rebecca Caslow and Marcy Todd will discuss how essential oils can help decrease the toxic load in our bodies. You can register online at the Parks and Recreation website. The activity number is 914-500-20, and that's on Thursday, July 28th from 11 o'clock a.m. to 12 o'clock noon at Langston Brown Community Center, 2121 North Culpeper Street. You gotta be 55 and up, and 55 plus membership is required. Finally, in 55 plus news, financial caregiving. Here's a chance to learn the essentials of financial caregiving, whether you are helping someone else manage their finances or planning for when you may need help with yours. Lisa Schifferly with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau will share tips, factors to consider when choosing a caregiver, different legal instruments, and how to recognize and avoid scams. You can register online through the Parks and Recreation website. The activity number is 914-404-07, and that's on Thursday, July 28th from 1 o'clock to 2:30 p.m. You gotta be 55 and up. 55 plus membership is required, and this is a virtual event. Anyway, that's all I got for 55 plus news.
And now, as promised, our interview with Alyssa Marlow.
We have Alyssa Marlow here, and she has lived in Arlington in 22202 for over 10 years. So Alyssa, I hear you have two certifications in emergency management.
Yes, thanks for having me today, Valerie.
Thank you.
I hold two certifications that are really widely recognized within the emergency management community as planning certifications. So I would never try to misrepresent that I'm an urban planner, but I certainly have, 10, 15 years or so of planning experience on a very, very, very significant large level.
Excellent, excellent.
Some background.
Some background, exactly. So how can Arlington County improve its planning framework?
Sure. So especially in a town with so many retired military and federal employees, I think it's really important for them, if they use the word plan, to follow planning framework and planning standards rather than make assumptions. So there are two things that I think are left out of the plans that I've seen recently, which are not very many because I'm fairly newly involved. Usually there are two things. One of them is called a planning assumption, and the other thing is other legal authorities and other plans that the plan itself references. So some examples of that would be a planning assumption that existed but that wasn't called out by name in the Pentagon City Planning Study was that the fire station would be able to handle an increase of 3% incidents annually, and without there being a need for a new fire station until 2030. So that's a planning assumption. It was never written out as a planning assumption because their plan didn't follow sort of guidelines. But I would have expected to see something like that in that plan myself. And then the other thing would be the reference to like state authorities and plans and things like that. It's kind of like, you get like the big picture and then you get the smaller pieces within it. And so to reference the other woman's presentation about trees, if there were like a countywide goal, if there were a countywide target on how many rental units they wanted, how many ownership opportunities, how many schools were able to, were necessary to exist in order to provide the essential benefits or essential services that a community decides, it'd be a lot easier for people to understand.
Absolutely. And how can the Arlington County Board make sure to represent all residents equally?
So again, I'm fairly newly involved and only know mostly about 22202.
Right.
But my limited understanding in some participation in civic associations and hearings and briefing at CivFed is that the at-large representation from the county board members, the era that comes from is the Jim Crow era, and that it was really a deliberate attempt to decrease the ability for minorities to have the ability to become elected members, and also accordingly not really have appropriate representation. So again, newly involved, but it really seems to me like making an effort to change that back to allow them to be districts would allow for more equal representation and undo some of the wrongs of the past, I guess, sort of. There's one thing that I'm not going to quote exactly, but kind of paraphrase. Okay. And if people are interested in more, I would suggest I think it was February 12th that this plan was discussed. But when you look at the census data comparison on the Pentagon City Sector Plan versus the Plan Langston Boulevard, and you look at the economic differences and the difference between how those areas were treated and what the county has deemed essential for their green space areas and stuff, it seems very apparent to me that lower income areas within the county are being treated differently. And I can't cite being the source for that because someone else brought that point at that meeting. But that's one of the things that I've seen recently.
Wow, and that's really interesting. And in 22202, how I know that you probably, have neighbors and everything. How have you guys felt about, the planning and just in general about the equality there?
Well, I mean, a lot of people will say that civic association representation is the way to get involved. I think a number of us are fairly newly involved in that, and there's no disagreement that that is a way to get involved. So I don't mean to speak down about anyone who volunteers, because their efforts are important and they're volunteering, most importantly. But I think a lot of us who are newly involved really brought some of these concerns to the county board, brought them to the Civic Association, and the Civic Association even actually issued resolutions and letters to the county board that, my understanding, were completely ignored, not even acknowledged, never answered. And they also asked for greater transparency in some of the community benefit financial calculations for the Amazon Penn Place bonus density, and that was completely ignored as well. Wow. And so I like to really say that people should get more involved in local civics, but I know that myself and probably at least 15 to 20 of my neighbors and close friends really feel disenfranchised and feel as if it really doesn't matter, unfortunately.
Wow, wow. And that's something that everybody can work towards, getting more involved locally. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, is there anything else you'd like to add, Alyssa, before we close out here?
No, I don't think so. I would just like to thank you very much for your time, and hopefully people will continue to get involved and learn more a little bit more. And I'll embarrassingly tell you that I thought Arlington was a city until about 6 months ago. So I am fairly newly involved in this type of thing.
Well,
thank you.
Well, thanks for getting involved, and thanks again for this interview, Alyssa.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
And that concludes this week's show. We will be back next week with more news from Arlington. Meanwhile, be careful, be safe, and be well.